Phil, I do comic reviews on YouTube, and I saw your video on the new car and asking, so what comic should I get? So I thought I'd make a response video for you. There's going to be a few, and some of them are kind of crazy. First one is Gaunt's. Gaunt's is an amazing, ultra-violent book. Basically, people die, they get transported to a room with a ball in it, the ball opens, they don't know what's going on, but they're handed weapons, armor, like a latex-type body armor, and they're told to go kill. This book is just non-stop violence. Every once in a while they give you some story, but the rest is ultra-violent. Very, very good. Next up is Detroit Metal City, or DMC. DMC is a perverted comedy that parodies Kiss. Basically, there's this guy, Kanishki, and then he wants to be a folk singer. But life doesn't turn out that way, and what happens is he turns out to be the lead singer of a death metal band called DMC. And as you can see, that's DMC right there. It's lewd, there's nudity, there's lots of bondage humor. It's extremely crazy. It's hilarity, but it's easily offensive. This book offends many people. Next up is The Last Days of American Crime by Rick Remender. This book is awesome. It takes place in the somewhat near future. The United States has figured out a way to eliminate crime by basically sending out a signal that inhibits people from committing crimes. And they're also changing the currency to go from paper to virtual. A group of people figure out a way to steal paper money before it's too late, and then basically run to Canada. The art is kind of quirky. I mean, not quirky, but it's very stylized. Lots of violence. Very, very cool story. All you need is just this trade, and you're good. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore. This is better than the movie, but this is what the movie is based on. Basically, you're going to get famous people in novels throughout time, basically saving the world, and this one's much better than the movie. I would recommend giving this one a try and forget the movie ever existed. Next up is American Vampire by through DC Comics, Scott Snyder. This one, it takes place in two different time periods. One's in the past, and the one's a little bit more, farther back in the past, because basically there's two main vampires. One's a girl who gets turned, and the other story is the person who turns her. And it's a story of revenge, basically. And it's a really, really cool vampire story. It's not like what you would normally expect from a regular type of story. Oh yeah, and also there's a group of bounty hunters. There's two groups of vampires. One is like a more evolved form, fighting the regular vampires. The evolved form are the ones who want revenge, and you also have the vampire hunters. This one's really, really cool. It's a little bit different, and again, this is a little bit more adult. Lock and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft. I'm on volume 2 on this one. This is kind of weird, but weird in a good way. It does have a Lovecraftian vibe to it, and basically it's about these kids who their father gets killed, and they go off to on the East Coast, wherever the Lovecraft normally takes place. The name's skipping my head right now, but basically there's like a tower. Inside the tower thing, there's like a spirit-like thing, and it's trying to get out. And what's happening is there's a bunch of keys that are scattered throughout the house. And the young brother finds a couple of the keys. The first key that he uncovers basically turns him into a ghost. There are other keys that do various different things, like they open up doorways, like where you can teleport. I'm not going to spoil the rest of them, but they can do fantastical things. There's death, murder, and craziness along the way. This is so far proving to be really interesting. Invincible, this is probably the best superhero book that's out in the market right now. It's written by Kirkman, who does The Walking Dead. I would have put The Walking Dead in here, but I'm sure you have 1,000 people going by Walking Dead, so I'm leaving that one out. This is like the best superhero title that's out there. Just imagine Peter Parker kind of like that nerdy type of guy, but this guy gets girls, and he has the strength of Superman, basically. The fighting is over the top. It's extremely violent. Not all the villains survive. As the issues go, there just gets violent and more violent. Bodies get ripped apart, things like that, and it's really, really good. I'm recommending this. Not the violence alone isn't what's recommending it. The story is actually really good. Chew is basically this. Basically, the Chew takes place in a world where there's due to this the bird flu, all the chickens are basically killed, and you can't. It's like now a crime to actually own a chicken or serve chicken at a restaurant. Well, Chew has this amazing ability where if he eats an item, like for an example, if he eats a piece of chicken, he can determine the history and the life of that chicken. If it's he'll sense everything from the mutilation of the chicken, so when it's being cut and whatnot, cut up, and then it's like even the birth of the chicken. He can tell you who, what, when, where that's involved in that entire life cycle. If it's a carrot, he knows everything from when the carrot's pulled out of the ground type thing. The only thing that he doesn't is beets, and that's the only thing he can eat without feeling that sense of history. So what he basically does is he solves crime. And as you can imagine, there's a dead body. He's got to eat the dead body because that's what gives him who, what, when, where, why that person died. It's a lot different, but it's really entertaining. Next up is G.I. Joe Cobra. And I know you're going, G.I. Joe, I stopped watching that when I was 9. This isn't 9-year-old G.I. Joe. This is adult G.I. Joe. Basically, this book is this starts off with a time where G.I. Joe and Cobra are feeling each other out from the beginning, and G.I. Joe sends in a plant inside Cobra. And the thing about this book is it's violent, there's death, there's sex, and it eventually becomes a story of revenge. And as you can see by the art, this is not a kid's book. There's shooting, things blowing up, and it is violent, and it's written for adults, and it's actually entertaining. And finally is X-Force, Uncanny X-Force. I would only recommend this if you're really familiar with X-Men, like Wolverine, Psylocke, Archangel, and there's Deadpool and Phantom X over here, or Phantom X over here. This book is just amazing. Basically, this is the first chapters where they go after to kill Apocalypse, and the art is really, really good. It's not your typical X-Men title, and the art and the coloring is just top notch. And this story was really entertaining. The 4 horsemen that are guarding Apocalypse are really unique, and they put a lot of thought and effort into creating these characters. As you can see, there's one right here, there's another one, and they're not your typical superhero type characters. So I would highly recommend this, especially if you're familiar with these characters. Anyways, that's a quick rundown. I know that's a lot to digest. I have more, but I don't want to waste too much of your time. But anyways, I hope you find something that's interesting.